So lots on the docket. Trying to think where to start. I'm pretty new to this. I have a lot of friends who are not new to this. They know what to do. So, itinerary. We're going to talk little Blue Jays. We're going to talk some other stuff. Bunch of emails to get to. If you ever want to email the podcast, it's MrBabyPodcast@gmail.com. Hope you can remember that. Spelling's pretty easy. I actually Googled Mr. Baby the other day, and I think someone's done this before and showed it to me, but I did it personally, and it sunk in that it's like a French thing. It's already created. Monsieur Bébé. Tough. Whatever. So I'm not the original Mr. Baby, but you have to deal with that. I hope you can handle it. I guess that's the first thing. And then 4 games since I last spoke. I watched 2 of them. I missed the middle 2. Watched Monday's game, Friday's game. God. I got a couple thoughts, believe it or not, as I speak into a microphone. I wrote a couple notes as well of things I wanted to talk about, just so that I remember. Put them on my phone. And the Jays lost a bunch. They lost twice. And then they won twice. This is the first consecutive games won in May. Jamie Campbell said that. I Googled it first, and then he said it after. So I want you to know I did not get it from the post game while the post game was still on after watching the game. Couple things. Where do I want to go? There's a couple things. First thing I want to talk about, pitching's been bad. Pitching's been kind of bad all season. And it's like blasphemous to say because supposedly it's a pitching and defense team. But they've been a bad team, so something of that has to have been bad. It's the pitching. And a lot of those games, the starter was just left in too long. But it's really complicated. It's a little bit really complicated because the bullpen's bad too. A lot of the starters are bad. Bullpen's bad too. So you kind of see the reasoning that they want to keep starters in longer. And they're very predictable when it comes to the amount of pitches they allow a pitcher to throw, a starter, and the amount of off days they've had before or they're going to have. And I guess there's been a bunch of rest days, so they were happy to pitch some guys longer, especially what is it? How many games in a row? We're in a stretch of just no off days. So I kind of get it, right? But of those 2 games they lost, one was directly from, a starter giving up the runs. And the other began the comeback for the Rays from the starting pitch. Bassett, right? He's at 100 pitches facing noted slugger Richie Palacios, who hit his 4th home run to tie him with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the same total of home runs. For Richie Palacios. I like it. He's a fun guy. He's a short little. He's playing second base now. Good for him. Fun swing. Stupid guy. He's not stupid. I don't know. But that's a case where I get it. Like, you're dealing with personalities. You're dealing with, hey, we need to grab innings. Hey, our bullpen's bad. But here's the bullpen's even worse. It is harder for a bullpen that's bad to protect one run lead than, say, a 4-run lead, which is the case with Gausman. I didn't watch that game, so someone can tell me. I don't know who. I forgot how many. I'm prepared. How many pitches was Kevin at? I don't know, but right, if you're a little, and it sucks. You want guys to pitch 6 innings. Like, grow up, throw 7, but you want them to pitch 6. But that's the problem. Like, that's how Bassett gave up 3 runs, and I mean, Vlad can make a play throwing out Randy Arozarena, and right, nothing happens, and we're no longer talking. We don't have to pull him early because he threw 6 innings. But if we, because I'm on the management team, we're aggressive and bring in a lefty to face Richie Palacios, maybe we, as I'm on the team, we aren't down 3-0, and we can come back and win that. Maybe if we're more aggressive pulling Gausman, he doesn't give up 3 runs. All the pitching looks better because the starters didn't allow those extra runs. And you're right, this is assuming a bullpen can hold a lead, which it didn't. It doesn't always. So, right, I get being scared of the bullpen, but it's a lot better to pitch Nate Pearson with a 4-run lead than a 1-run lead, right? If you get someone in the 6th to get out of that inning, assuming they can, right? They might have made it worse, you know? Hindsight's everything. But a lot of these outings are starters just left in too long because they're a little scared of the bullpen, and they lose anyway. So it's like, maybe we try something different. Jose Barrios today, right? They wanted to push him a little. It's the White Sox. It doesn't matter. Like, not the World Series. It's the White Sox. Which, it is awesome to play the White Sox. Restores your faith in baseball. Like, oh, no, we're a baseball team. We could win a game. They're what ails you, you know? They'll make you feel good. But if it's a real game against a real team, maybe they don't even start them, but they don't trust the bullpen at all. And Jose didn't look particularly good. He filled the zone. It was good. Vila was kind of down. And they had a good game plan against him. Paul DeYoung, one of the better hitters I've ever seen, had a plan and executed. He was breaking ball away, and he did exactly what he wanted to. A lot of power in that bat, too. Playing a good shortstop, too. Good for the White Sox. What a pickup. They had a plan, and they were getting a bunch of hits. Nicky Lopez has, to me, that's the most generic, maybe even like pulled that stance out of the 1930s. Just that to me is truly like faking baseball type stance. But they won, but pitching didn't look great. Who in the bullpen's good? It's like it's Jimmy. It's Jimmy, and that's it. What else? What else are in my notes? Pitchers left in too long. Justin Turner's dead, and I feel a little bad for him because he was definitely sick with something, right? And who knows what kind of are they all? Do they all kiss all the time, like with tongue? Do they lick each other? They get so sick so often. I feel, are other teams getting, because this is twice that like a bug has run through them. Because this is the second time for Jose Barrios. Like, I think it was Kansas City. Him and Yariel Rodriguez both were just like sick as dogs. And it's just like, now it's Baltimore and he had to wait for his fever to break. What? Do you need orange juice? Like, what happened to high performance? Don't have kids, I guess? They must be just running rampant and really not sanitizing stuff. But Justin Turner's been sick, and then he's also sick of hitting. Bo Bichette kept hitting the ball to second base. Justin Turner just hits it to third. Just rolls over. Everything's just a rollover. Right? He had to normalize his numbers, and he just decided to do it as efficiently as possible over such a short span, just for all of us to enjoy, which is tough. But Bo, right, again, White Sox are what is needed for a team that just is doing bad. And Bo actually pulled 2 doubles, like shocking that he could still remember he can use that part of the field. I'm not saying he should all the time, but it was just right field, right field. But again, that's how fake baseball numbers are, because you go and stat pad against the White Sox and you're back to normal. So much of baseball is just like, who was your opponent? Like, who are you against? Good or bad, or right? Like, even just like we look at a stat line and it's awesome. I love looking at it, but isn't it kind of close to useless? Like, maybe we should normalize, like, I'd say the starting point would be just like against righties, against lefties, even though the worst people would do the worst things, especially with the short side of the platoon. Just against lefties, because no one faced lefties, and like people go wild with that stuff, you know, like, oh, Mookie Betts wasn't hitting lefties in 2020. Why did they pull Blake Snell? No one's gonna let Mookie Betts face a lefty, even if he's gone 0 for 100 against them. It's baseball. Don't be stupid. But right, we don't know right, left. We don't know, like, are all your power numbers against just shitty pitchers? Like, Bo's about to fix himself against the White Sox, or maybe he was always going to, and it just happens to be the White Sox being there for him to do that. Quality of competition. It's like the thing that people forget to talk about in the accumulation of a batter or pitcher's statistics. And sometimes pitchers feel like they're on or they're off. They could be facing the best hitters, their worst hitters. Sometimes it's just the pitchers will be their own worst enemy. But I like seeing that from Bo, is my point. The 2 pulled doubles in the gap. And what else? Today on Monday, the Jays on defense, first and third, they had a double steal. And I like this. They've done it a couple times. And it feels like they're one of the few teams doing it right now where they throw through sometimes. Every so often they eat it. They're not like always doing it. But they throw through to second because they want to throw back home. And it's like, hey, if you want to try this little dinky trick, we'll let you. But it is not a given that you'll score. And they've gotten the runner a couple times doing that. And I like that someone's finally like, no, we'll take your offer. We'll take your offer of you trying to steal a run, us trying for you not to. Like, we can just do that. Nice throw from Davis. I like Davis is such a classic second baseman. Like, that is what they should look like. It's like, you know how Davis looks. I'm not going to describe how he looks. But that was good. They're always, defense is awesome. I was saying to my buddy, CB, just about when you're watching baseball in a rebuild phase, you don't want anything to do with players who defend, or at least defend primarily. Like, you just want to see anyone hit. You want to find out if anyone can hit. And then as soon as you're in anywhere close to contention, you want to see people play defense. I said it to him. Like, I wasn't in this crowd, but they were right. It was very staunch and real, the people that wanted to play Ryan Goins over Jose Reyes. And I mean, Jose Reyes got shipped out because he couldn't play defense. He's also bad, and he's also Jose Reyes. But when you're contending, like, defense is everything. And I'm not a baseball lifer. I haven't had it hammered home that it's just like, defense up the middle, defense up the middle. Like, you hear it and you just hand wave it. But when you have a good team, it's like, it's really hard to be truly like bad. Like, who's a bad defensive team that's awesome up the middle? I mean, bad up the middle, awesome team. I don't know. It's really hard to be an amazing defensive team and a bad team, which gives me hope for the Jays. I also have it anyways, because what else am I going to do? It's my thing I watch. And, like, they've not looked good at all. But I was watching on YouTube 2007 highlights. I texted Avery this because the Yankees were like 7 games under, like 50 games into the year, and they finished with 94 wins. The Rays were 4 games under the other day. But it means you have to have a win streak. Like, the Astros have kind of unburied themselves. They're closer to first place than the Jays. You have to go on a winning streak, and it just feels like they're not capable. And back to the bullpen. The early in spring, it was like, oh, which reliever are we going to trade? We better trade a reliever. I got it. I'm like, we're going to trade Jimmy, right? And it's like, you can't find a reliever. We missed Chad Green. And Chad Green didn't look great, but he's so much better to watch than Nate Pearson or Zach Pop. Like, he's actually kind of like has a plan that he wants to execute, and track record too. I was thinking about Zach Pop and Nate Pearson, and I think in an ideal world, they're both amazing, really. But a realistic one where things are good, they're both in Buffalo. And I hate watching Nate Pearson. He has no command. He has no command. And it's like, what am I watching? Zach Pop feels like, and it's because he was marketed as like, oh, this could be Clay Holmes. Even though I hate Clay Holmes. Every time I watch Clay Holmes, I'm like, how did you just record a scoreless inning? You were the worst looking pitcher I've ever seen. But Zach Pop's supposed to be like, almost like Jim Johnson, just Brandon League, maybe? A guy who it's like, everything should be a ground ball, and it's not. He's giving up homers on his fastball. Everything should be hit directly into the ground with him. And I'm a little annoyed when he's not good. Nate Pearson, I'm always surprised when he's good at this point. It's almost to the point where it's like, who saw, sorry Nate if you're listening, who saw anything in Nate Pearson? I guess the fastball shape is supposed to play at the top of the zone, and I looked at the heat map of his fastballs this year, and it is down the middle, red, unmistakably down the middle. He's tough. Genesis Cabrera is a perfect example of what's the saying? Oh God, I say it all the time. It's priced that way for a reason. They got him for close to free. He was a designated for assignment reliever, and he was awesome last year. But you kind of find out why he was priced like such. He's just looked bad. He's hilarious to watch, really fun. I wish him well because he's awesome to watch when he's good. He's been bad. Swanson gave up a couple liners again. Bullpens are the worst. Romano, anytime he's averaging 95, I turn off the game. I just go. I did that with the Orioles. Like, oh, you just knew it was not going to be good. He's got the Waluigi leg kick. They used to be good. What happened? Did some people were like, and you know, it's not an unfair thing, but oh, the bullpen was overworked. Didn't the starters throw like the most innings of any starter? Nobody wants to work. I guess it's just the Jays have had the same bullpen all the time. They don't kind of have that Rays or Brewers kind of 11-man bullpen with just constant moving parts. Even though so much of the Rays bullpen is bad. Manuel Rodriguez, that dude sucks. I felt so bad for George because he scorched that double play ball. It really should have got through in the 8th on Friday. And that's when it's just like, well, you're not meant to have good things right now, George. Or me, Mr. Baby. What else? What else from the games? Anything else in my notes? The stadium looks nice with the roof open. I'm not a huge fan of the renos on TV. Maybe it's because it's change and I don't like change. Who likes change? It looked nice with the that's the whole thing with the Rogers Center. The roof open makes it look like a nice place. That's always. What else we got? Pop and Pearson, talk about that. Jeff Probst kind of looks like Brian Griffin. Like younger him. Take a look. I don't know. I just it clicked, it connected. Think about that. I have I live in not the greatest part of Toronto. It's not it's like so there's like I describe Toronto as like there's gentrified, being gentrified, about to be gentrified, and then like pre that, and then just like no one's thought about gentrifying yet. And I'd say no one's really thought about gentrifying here. So it's not a great area, but there's just a cheap pizza place down the street. And right, I don't think any of them have met an Italian, but which is God, kudos to them. Would love to live that life. But it's like I go in there and with tax, a 2-topping medium is $7.75. Why I wish everyone could have that is what I want. And it's a good pizza. I mean, you have an expectation built in that it's going to be this price range of taste, which is a great taste. It's better than the expensive pizza for the most part. Like Woodburn, whatever. I'm not like a pizza connoisseur, but I feel so bad. There's some people just out of that kind of areas where you can just, I walk and grab box of pizza, walking home and eat. The chains are good. Chains can be cheap, but you need like a stupid little place that just, you're a little like, is this up to code? There's a couple. My street, I'm on a main street, is littered with places like that. I've hit up a couple. I should just review. But still, some places are as cheap as I'd like. What can you do? What can I do? I think that's it for my topics. We can get to the emails. Let's do that. Again, like I said off the top, if you ever have an email question for me, it's mrbabypodcast@gmail.com. Start with the first question. It's from Sam. Hey, Mr. B, it's Sam. Miss you on Twitter, and I miss your spaces. I feel so empty without them. Like my life has no meaning now. Anyways, here's my question. Do you ever think, what if Bo and George didn't collide with each other versus Seattle, and we would have won that series, where this franchise would be? Maybe I read that weird, but I think I get the gist of it. So they don't die and crash their heads, and they win, maybe. I mean, they're down a game. I don't think about that stuff. What am I gonna? No one liked that team. Like Gurriel was down still. It was like Raimel Tapia and Whit Merrifield starting games. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Now that I think about it, if they didn't crash together, they win that game and then the World Series. It is too bad they did that to us. You should blame them. Thank you for the question, Sam. Thank you for the kind word. Next one. BK. My question is, I miss you dearly. Do you miss me? Sent from his iPhone. Yeah, I miss you, BK. I don't miss Twitter. I talked about it last time. Again, I think people should try. We have to get into a place where it's like, you realize missing out on stuff isn't, you don't actually miss out on anything. Like, you just don't have to stay in the minutia because it literally passes in a second. And then it's like, oh, you didn't know this? You didn't know that? It's like, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter no more. And I think I maybe talked about it last time we spoke. But it's like, do I want to call it a tolerance break? All info I get hits me like a truck. Blue Jays rained out. What? I had no clue. This guy optioned. Oh my God. What? I found that out on the broadcast. I texted Avery about it. Eric Pardinho is good in AA as a reliever, which I want to say he was the first pitching prospect I ever cared about from the jump. He was from Brazil. No one's from Brazil. Jan Gomes was. And they chose JP Arencibia over him. But Eric Pardinho was going to be like Julio Urias for the Jays, just like make the majors at 18 and be amazing. But he died. And now he's back. He must not be old. I don't know. I lost all prospect stuff. I don't know what's going on. You used to just find out every day. It's like Josh Kasevich had a good game in the field yesterday. It's like, great. I'm glad I read that. Now I don't know who's hitting what where. And I'm fine. I hope. Thank you for the question, DK. Avery writes, why does Nate Pearson throw the ball down the middle so often? How hard do you have to throw to have no command? Yeah, I talked about it earlier. He's supposed to succeed up is what the thing is. And, right, you watch his delivery and it just never looks like he'll ever know where the ball's going. And you can throw people, so many good pitchers low-key throw the ball down the middle. It's just, they don't do it all the time. There was it was on Fangraphs. That's a statistics website with articles and whatnot. They were talking Kevin Gossman, and so he ups the quality of his fastball with 2 strikes, but he starts throwing it just like down the middle. At least I don't know if he's doing that this year, but in years prior, but he could get away with that. It was basically almost like, and I think the conclusion was like, they're kind of the same quality of fastball because one's like a better stuff wise fastball, but it's a worse location and vice versa. But yeah, if you look at all the good pitchers, like they just get away with stuff down the middle just because sometimes it's their reputation that precedes them, and sometimes they're just locating so much that they can get away with being aggressive and throwing down the middle. Like, that's why sometimes you watch some good pitchers and you're just like, you're hittable. You're so hittable. Like, why is my team not hitting them? You're missing cookie. But it's just contact. It's just contact. But I just, like, maybe Nate's going to put it together for a year where he can locate, but I don't know how he becomes dependable. Like, he's supposed to be this huge mountain of a man who can just get away with throwing his fastball wherever. And it's just been the opposite. Like, why is he not got like a Felix Bautista fastball? And took Felix Bautista till he was like my age to come up, which is embarrassing. It's young. It's not that young. So I don't know. I don't really want to look into Nate Pearson. But it's a tough watch. I'm always surprised when he does well, but I'm appreciative when he does well. Beneficial to me. Rocco's got a podcast question. He wrote this at 4:30, so he can write, "Good afternoon, Mr. Baby." I have a two-parter for you. First off, how do you pursue happiness in today's world without burning yourself out, given that the cost of living has been rising while the quality of life has been slowly decreasing? Also, where's the best spot for George Springer to bat in the lineup? Thank you, Rock. So, I have a lot of answers about a lot of things, and I definitely know about happiness. And I think you have to, I don't know how much you can change. So I suggest just like changing the definition of happiness so that you can achieve it more. It's like more that maybe you want to be a more positive person, and you can conflate positivity with happiness, and just kind of strive to be that. And because whatever, you live inside your world, your context, you get dealt shit hands sometimes that like other people would think are amazing hands and other people would think are even worse hands. But it's just how you interact with them. It's like when you watch a movie at 14 versus 30, like the movie's completely different, but it's the same movie. You're just different. So you just have to shift what it is. And like, yeah, that's what I try to do. And it's just be the person you want to be. Be the change you want to see in the world. Act how you want to act. Like I got off Twitter because I want to be able to say what I mean what I say, and just say it directly to people. Twitter was just doing the opposite of that. And yeah, I mean, all of social media. I'm not going to do a whole thing, but we have to communicate better. We all have to just communicate better, and we'll all succeed if we all want to put our minds to it. And George Springer, well, the question is, good, if the form of the good George Springer versus George Springer quality right now, like he can bat 10th. No thanks. But when he's like, if he's going to be, an above average on base, average power guy, like I'm totally fine with him batting leadoff still. There's a couple things with batting order where it's like either you become a slave to the book, like best hitters are 2 and 4, then third, then first and fifth, or whatever it is, right? Top 4 or 4 best, but 2 and 4 are the real best. Or you could also subscribe to batting order isn't real. It's like you can optimize it, but even that is going to just not be much over the years. Not years, but over a year versus the worst version of the lineup. So it's kind of like managing personalities a little, but I think as much as a 31-year-old can have a boomer take is I'm out. I'm just out on power bats. Your best power bat leading off? I no. What happened? What happened to 3-run home runs? Earl Weaver. Are we just like you might get a 5th at bat hitting leadoff, but you might have like how many less runners on for the 5? And I guess if someone wants to look into it, because I was thinking through this boomer take of mine, of just like, are people doing it because like people aren't hitting 3-run home runs anymore? So you might as well logically, the solo home run has got to have increased because, right, we're constantly setting home run records as a sport, and runs per game are not moving in that same direction. So maybe the logic is, hey, you're only ever going to hit solo home runs anyways. Might as well give you the most opportunity to hit the most of them over a full year. And I guess someone's got to research like because on base has gone down. So does it matter less to have, or does it matter even more to situate your power right after your on base threats, just because there's so fewer opportunities to have runners on? I don't know. But I want to see, like, I'd like to see Davis Schneider hit with runners on. I'm fine with him hitting anywhere. I'm fine with anyone hitting anywhere. I think change is fun every time. They could change the batting order every day. And I'd be like, oh, cool, that's fun. I always enjoy looking at a batting order come out. I don't know if you're all the same, but it's a little boring to see the same one every time. But I'm fine with good George leading off. I thought when George was in his prime, in his 2021 prime kind of vibe, like, that guy should hit 3rd. That guy should hit 4th. You're wasting that power. I don't know. Maybe the numbers are at the point where it's like, no one's getting on base anyways. Might as well hit 2 home runs out of 5 at bats instead of 1 out of 4, and then tomorrow a homer in your first at bat. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm not that smart. Thank you for the question, Rock. I hope that helped you out. Next up. Hi, Mr. Baby. Rios has always overperformed his expected stats, but this year the results have felt even more fraudish, well below average strikeout rate, poor batted ball numbers, etc. I think his ability to stay healthy and eat innings is super valuable, but I think he's due for an ugly regression. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Miss you, P. Hey, P. This was sent mid-game, I think. Maybe after Brios was pulled, but yeah, people, and I've talked about it a bunch, people have to catch the ball behind him because his only skill is availability. Like, sometimes he's not a good pitcher. He's a good pitcher always, but like sometimes it's truly like, I don't want you starting a playoff game. you're gonna get hit around. And he started a playoff game. He looked great. I forgot what happened, but right, pitchers can kind of. There's ways to do a season, and you can kind of tightrope walk your overperformance and then settle into your real performance. Real, more like projected performance prior to the overperformance. So say, you go through 1.5 ERA stretch, and then the rest of the year you're at 375. And then you have a career year or close to one. And then sometimes people do tightrope walk and then completely fall off and then go back to what was projected. So it could be 1.5 to 7.5 for a month and then 3.5 for the rest. So I don't know what he's going to do. Like he's been better at keeping the ball in the ballpark, but everyone has, like, baseball's, no one's hitting home runs. Baseball's an awful run environment right now. It's insulting. I was looking at, like, who was I looking at? I was looking at, like, a Mike Lowell year of, like, 378, 500 slugging. And that was like a 120 weighted runs created plus. And if he did that now, like, he would get first place MVP votes. We are so far from normal statistics. And my buddy Ricky has sent me Joe Sheehan newsletters just talking about, like, the on bases is the worst it's ever been. At the time it was 312 in the article. And we're in the colder months. It'll get better as time goes on. But teams are under the average. That's how an average works. There's over and there's under. You put them all together and you get an average. Right? There's a bunch of teams under 312 as a team, which an average on base used to be like 330, 340. We're done for, man. What are we going to do? There's so much, like, cat's out of the bag. We're not going to make pitching worse. We're not going to make defense worse. We already did a little, but it still didn't really work. We tried to give everyone home runs, and the people whined about it, which, man, I never got that. The best result when you are watching your team bat is a home run. And the best result when you're watching your team pitch is a strikeout. And we as in when I was back on Twitter, which is most of my life besides this month, every day was just whining. And it's truly just like, careful what you wish for. I don't know what's next. I don't have the answers. I don't know. I forget who I've said this take to, or if it's just been in my head, that the Jays are trying to low-key be ahead of the curve of when they just, like, and this is half tongue-in-cheek, half, like, real but hyperbole, like, ban the home run. They're not going to ban it, but they're going to make it really hard and just go, hey, find contact hitters. And the Jays are just going to be like, well, we have every contact hitter now. Check out our farm system. Check out our team. And they're just like, they're trying to play for the future of just, like, play for now, obviously, and play for the future. And I've said this, I was saying this, like, the Jays, I don't think the Jays necessarily sought out becoming a contact team. I think they had a budget, and power is really expensive. And in a perfect world, all of their hitters would never strike out and only hit home run. And then you try to get the closest version of that. But that's so expensive. So they were at a crossroads, realized Teoscar Hernandez was too expensive for their budget and what he was providing, but he was providing a lot of power. Gurriel was supposed to provide power. He didn't provide power then. And he was, they were 10% of the budget, something like that. A little more than that. And they said, man, we can't afford this. Let's try and replicate the wins, but we can't pay the premium power. So they switched to contact pitching defense just so that they could keep it rolling. If they kept doubling down on power, they wouldn't have been able to afford pitching. And I think they also realized it's complicated because I think they did want to prioritize defense, because defense, like I said earlier, it's really hard to be a bad team when you're one of the best defending teams. It's like an accomplishment to do that. But Berrios was a question. And, right, he had that one Philly start where he was like, let's correct the numbers a little. And today, correct the numbers a little. But yeah, he's not something to worry about, but he's not someone to start game 1 or 2 of a playoff series. Or maybe he is, because he did. Thank you, P. Last up, CB. He writes, Mr. Baby, a.k.a. White Silk. Does how hard it's been for hitting prospects to come up and hit in the major leagues this season, and really since minor league contraction, make you adjust your expectations downward for any bat first prospects moving forward? Is there a case to be made that we're pushing prospects through the minor leagues too aggressively and leaving them vulnerable to face failure in the major leagues for the first time without the appropriate tools to help them adjust? This year, as an example, some high-profile 20 to 22-year-old rookies have hit. We've got Jackson Holliday hitting .059 with a 111 on base. So, kind of some slack there. Back in AAA. Jackson Churio, 226, 272, 350. Evan Carter, 205, 293, 394. Wyatt Langford, 224, 295, 293. Inside the park home run, it counts. Colt Keith, 197, 259, 220. Nolan Shanuel, 226, 303, 329. Curtis Mead, 218, 269, 276. The only one to be an above average hitter in regular at bats is Jackson Merrill. Does that make you adjust upward for him? Am I overthinking all of this? Yours, CB. So really, really good question. And right, we're at a really confusing time of prospects just because of the loss 2020, and then the minor league contraction was just so confusing for everyone. And then the whole, you play the same team all week. Like, that's just not baseball, whatever. It's affected the minor leagues, clearly. But at the same time, like, some of those are small sample. Some of those are like, hey, let's see how they do as the year goes on. And some of them are just like, I think we got warped maybe by such major success stories Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, Anthony Volpe. No, I'm kidding. Who else? Right? There's so many guys that either, they just. I mean, Adley was an old man, so I'm not gonna say Adley, but Julio hit the ground running. So many guys hit the ground running, and I think warped our expectations of what prospects can do right when they come up. And maybe we're going back to old times of just like, right? Carlos Delgado, he was up in 93. And when was his first good year? 97? Something like that. Jim Thome just like kept trying to break through. Other things kept happening. They also had a good team. But what if this is just like actually like how it used to be? We're just getting back to it. Like, yeah, just so many. Corbin Carroll was just so amazing off the jump, off the rip. But maybe it's just getting back to like what it was, or maybe because right, they're supposedly getting better at just getting younger people up. And are we finally seeing what minor league contraction is doing to affect it? I don't know. Yeah. And hitting prospects are just like, man, as a fan of a team who has Vlad, it's hard to bring it back to Vlad. Like, it's really hard to be a bat first prospect. And it's not just that. It's like, even if you're a good one, like, go be an athlete and play a real position and hit nearly as well. Like, those prospects rule. Don't ever have a first base prospect. Let me tell you. I mean, Bo's been a way better player. And he was never ranked as high. I mean, he was ranked pretty high. But, I mean, God, a bunch of shortstops have just kind of passed him. Gunnar looks so good. I mean, I don't want to turn it into a Gunnar podcast, but woof, man. Is it 15, 13 Bond? Where's he at? He was my sleeper. He was my sleeper MVP. So stick with the baby. He knows what's up. I want to talk Vlad a little bit. Yeah. He's just doing his Tony Gwynn. And like it's encouraging because it feels like he started with an approach at the start of the year he just didn't trust or couldn't trust. And he just kept getting in this hole. And now he finally kind of has an approach and he's not deviating and he's finding himself taking good swings. And hopefully that's a byproduct to more good swings. And then he'll finally start elevating because it's like all his hard hits. How does he not hit just like home runs? Like Jansen just passed him. Davis has the same amount. He should be like, I don't know. It's the classic. You're just so hard on your own players. He should be like Miggy, where it's like you. I mean, I guess Miggy was just such a pure hitter. Like he would just look to put a good swing on it, but he won a Triple Crown. Pretty hard to do that. Vlad's so far in the hole for his power numbers for this year. I mean, Spencer Torkelson, who I think had 0 until like a week ago, is up to 3. What a bad I mean, God, you can feel bad about yourself for Vlad, but Spencer Torkelson, was he the number one overall prospect? I know he was number one draft pick, but oh my God, you feel bad for Detroit fans. And yeah, it was my favorite all time number one overall prospects, Andrew Benintendi. The man with no tools. The man with no tools. Like, hey, I can fake it in center. I'll hit you 280. I could hit maybe 15 home runs on an amazing year. Oh yeah, no, that's the top prospect to me. Why not? Woof. His numbers are like running straight into a wall. They are that shocking. Go look them up. Yeah. Yeah, I hope the power comes, because it does feel like this lineup needs an actual power threat. How many power threats does it need when the actual power threats are power threats? Because right, Davis can be one. George is supposed to be one. Vlad's supposed to be one. Bo's supposed to be one. Jansen's supposed to be one. There's 5 right there. And then Varsho's one. Like, they don't not have power threats. Like, do they really not have as much as the Rays? Like Johnny DeLuca? It's just, I guess, Jays need a random guy to hit a big home run again, like Ernie did in New York. That's what they need. Yeah, I hope the rest of the games go good. I hope they win the World Series. I hope they never lose again. What else? I hope you enjoy the video. I've been watching so much Survivor as I text CB about it. Some seasons are great from just like your Jane Goodall watching it. Just like, this is what you guys did. This is how it's going. They're just the monkeys. I don't know. I thought to myself, is there a dearth of lesbians casted? But I think they never had, no producer ever thought it was a storyline worth pursuing. Because gay, you'll get gay. You'll get, is this what you want to talk? But it's a storyline that it's like, because it is Lord of the Flies. It is like, if you're other than, you will get kicked out, or they'll find that reason to kick you out. Yeah, I hope this wasn't boring. Hope you enjoyed. Keep getting better. Hope you enjoyed the love seat.